Hello, friends. Welcome to the UX IRL podcast, where we examine user experience design at work and the world around us. I'm Michelle Chin, design ops, design systems, accessibility expert.
And I'm Mary Fran Goings, senior UX designer at Health Trust. We're just two friends that love UX and wanted to talk about it, what it's like in real life. Today, we're going to be talking about UX of Japan. Like Michelle mentioned at the top, we've both been before. It's something that we enjoy talking about, just the two of us. So we thought this would be a good topic to bring to the podcast. I think anyone that enjoys traveling, it's really neat to see how different countries, cities, like cultures, tackle different things. And so we've got a bunch of fun topics, everything from transportation to bathrooms to talk about today. So um, I think to kick things off, Michelle, why did you want to talk about the UX of Japan?
I think so. I guess this goes a little bit to like when I first visited, which was like early 2000s. And that was like before smartphones and before I was like a UX designer. So I went to it for very different, like, I guess through very different experiences. But going back recently, when I went in summer of 2023, um, as a UX designer, like looking at things through a UX lens was really, really fascinating because I feel like there was a lot that I couldn't wrap my head around. Some stuff that I could, but it was just all very different. And I think seeing a culture that's so different than like Western cultures just really was really fascinating. And I definitely wanted to kind of talk about that, but also see like what we could learn from that as well. Um, why did you want to talk about it? And when did you last visit Japan?
Yeah, I think it's funny. It's kind of similar for me too. I've been twice now. First back in summer of 2007, after my first year of college. I'm dating myself here. But I took Japanese in college, and so I really wanted to get the opportunity to study abroad, and just really fell in love with it being over there. And so recently, I got married 2 years ago, and then last year, or I guess like a year and a half ago, last year we postponed our honeymoon to kind of like save up some money and take some time to really do it the way we wanted to, which was to spend 3 weeks in Japan. So that's what we did fall of last year. So it was really fun to kind of go back, like you said, with this new lens of like as a UXer to kind of like see, I don't know, also compare like how it's changed since I
Yeah.
was there, because it was very different. Like it was such a long time ago, like 15 years. So that's that's quite a change. So yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. I really nerd out about stuff like that anyway, and so I thought it would be fun to kind of have a broader conversation about it.
Yeah. I don't know, like I would look at buildings or skyscrapers and be like, was that here before? What was that? And like realize it wasn't before. Yeah. So a lot has changed.
Yeah, it's kind of wild. There was a whole like the place I changed or the place I stayed the first time I was there, Giugaoka, which is like kind of a posh. I was surprised that they had housing there. I did like a study abroad program with Temple University, and they have a campus over there. The housing I was in does not exist. Like they don't have that housing anymore. But it was kind of neat that it was in like kind of a posh like area of Tokyo. Um, but I did not recognize anything in Jugoka. Like it's changed so much, and I could not figure out or find where my housing used to be. So that was kind of sad that it was like so different. But there were a lot of other things I remembered that kind of felt familiar. Places I visited and things like that. But yeah, I don't know. 15 years is a long time, so I guess it was like 17. God. Wild. College was so long ago.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty crazy. Yeah, like let's talk about getting around as a visitor in case anyone wanted to visit, and what your experience was like. I guess, yeah, let's start there.
Yeah, so I think kind of going back to what we just said before about kind of like interesting to see how things have changed. When I went to Japan for the first time, Michelle, you too, there were no smartphones.
No,
Like, so it was really interesting. Like back then, I ended up getting like pay-as-you-go phone basically while I was there because like trying to keep up with people like my classmates and it's nice to have like some way to communicate with them, and so that was kind of neat. We did that. I had like a train card, a bus card, things like that, and then fast forward to last fall going with smartphones and smartwatches. Um, Cards and things, everything's digital, right? So like it was really convenient to kind of get around. When we talk about like train cards, there are a couple of different kinds, but it's kind of like a debit card.
yeah,
Uh,
that's what I
you
thought
can
was
use them for the
really
train, but you can also use it for like
buying things,
yeah, buying things like what are they
like
called?
vending machines.
Vending machines, thank
Um,
you. I kept thinking of the
yeah.
Japanese word, but the Japanese word is kind of really cool for this is jiro hanbaiki,
Oh,
like very
I didn't
fun.
know that.
But, I kept thinking of that. But yeah, vending machines are everywhere in Japan, and it's not just beverages, but like different kinds of food and things like hot beverages, cold beverages, just like all sorts of different things you can find. But yeah, you can use your train card to pay for those, um, and a bunch of other things. I feel like so having it like on your phone or on your watch was like really convenient. You do use the trains quite a bit and the bus. That's the thing. That's one of the things I loved about traveling there last time was public transportation is so good. Like if you want to you want to experience public transportation, well done. Go to Japan. Um, Things are
Yeah.
on time. Like it's easy within like I said within reason. Like if I
I
did see people. I think the good thing is it's not like you don't have to have like a smartphone to do those things. They still make cards. They still have alternatives. But if you do have it, it's like super convenient.
Yeah, like I
Mm,
think a lot
yeah.
of the train, like the for as complicated as the like train system is in Japan, it's really easy to get around in. Um like I remember
Yeah.
I did like, I don't know, I rode the subway in Baltimore and it was just like one straight line and like you couldn't get lost. But Japan it's like way more than that. Um
There is a train station in Japan which we didn't really go to that's in Tokyo. Shinjuku is like notorious for being like very difficult to navigate, but we didn't really like spend a lot of time there. For the most part though, like stations are like really well, I feel like mapped out and like easy to navigate. But
yeah. I think like it seems also there's probably a lot more English written there because I think they did a lot of prep work for the Olympics, even though like no one could really go to the Olympics, but because of COVID. So, but yeah, there's like a lot more like English support because I remember when I first went to Tokyo and my mom like drew me like, I don't know, she wrote notes and was like, this is how you find the exit and this is where you need to go. And like, I don't know, that's what I had to go by. And I was so scared that I was going to get lost because I had no way of like getting help. But like that said, like with smartphones, like Google Maps was really good. Um, like you can follow, it depends on like where you are in different cities, like bigger cities, I feel like they have like live, like real time updates. So like you can see. So
yeah.
if you're like worried about like not knowing the language, you can easily like navigate using Google Maps and they tell you explicitly like which exit to get off of and like or get out of, like which direction to go. It's like all numbered and everything. It was like really nicely done.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It makes navigating especially for somebody like me who is directionally challenged, much easier. So like for the most part, like when we were in major cities, Tokyo, Kyoto, Osaka, like it was pretty easy to navigate. It was just like when we got off the beaten path that things were not quite as accurate or up to date. I feel like time wise, things still ran pretty smoothly. Like trains and buses were on time. They just don't run as frequently the further out you get, so you do have to wait a little bit. But and Google Maps and Apple Maps, for what it's worth, we try both. When you get kind of out off the beaten path, are not super accurate. So um,
Nice. I didn't think to use Apple Maps. I don't know. We had a friend that got lost in the desert from Apple
oh
Maps like
god,
a long time ago. And so like I've never used it since then. I mean, I didn't get lost. I had trauma from her getting lost. So but
it's
I
it's
feel like it's
all
better
it's
now.
all Mark uses. Like
Wow.
so, we and
Impressive.
I'll use Google Maps. So like between the two of us,
Yeah.
we'll figure it out.
Did you use Google Translate while you were there?
We did. We tried. They're just things. I mean, like I took Mark and I both took Japanese in college, but like it's not something we've kept up as much as we would like. I honestly remembered a lot more than I thought I would, but reading is difficult because Japanese, you learn kanji, like Chinese characters, and there's quite a few of them. So like kind of like the basic kind of like writing and syllable systems, like I remember, but kanji I've forgotten a lot of. So Google Translate was my friend when I encountered kanji I could not remember. But Mark and I were actually surprised at some of the stuff we did remember, and we were always trying to, like speak, practice speaking when we could. But yeah.
Yeah. Like I would use like the augmented reality part of Google Translate where you can just
Yeah.
show like take like open Google Translate and
Yeah.
yeah, like yeah, like put it over the sign that you're trying to read and even like handwritten signs, it would like translate it and it was like super easy. Um I know
Yeah, it
yeah.
didn't have that either the last time we were there. It was really, really cool. Like, instead I was like like, have, like, a little mini dictionary or something, trying to,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, like it's a
look
game
things up.
changer. Because even if it's not like 100% accurate, it like gives you the gist, but um yeah, that was super cool. Yeah. And so I guess like what other things around like getting around as a visitor did you like realize in terms of like interesting UX or good UX?
So I think something that's kind of interesting right now is, the yen is, like, really low right now, which is another reason why, like, a lot of people are, like, eager, and I mean, like, it's a good time to travel there. Um, but because of that, like, kinda something to know that, was interesting that I didn't realize is, so I had friends that had been to Japan, last year as well, but like in the spring. And so we were talking about like where they went and what they did and kind of how things have changed since they last traveled. And the Shinkansen, or the bullet train, super, super fast train, really fun to travel on. If you're in Japan, I highly recommend at least taking the Shinkansen once. It's really beautiful way to see the country, and it's just really neat. We rode it a couple of times, but there's an app you can download, which is great in theory. Because you can have your tickets on there, and it just makes like it's actually cheaper too. There are a bunch of apps and stuff that you can download if you're going to Japan, to try and make booking easier. But they're usually more expensive. There's like the prices are kind of like hiked up on things. So for the Shinkansen app, it's like what you would pay like if you were just buying the ticket there. The problem with it is, you do have to tie a credit card to it, and this, getting back to why the yen is low, ties into this. Is most credit cards, to authenticate, will charge $1. If it's less than $1, it won't go through. So,
Oh.
like, it wasn't going through because it was charging less than $1, on the Shinkansen app. And I think the only card that doesn't do that is an Amex card. I had to do a deep dive on a Reddit thread for why my credit card was not would not like authenticate for this app. But I don't know, it was kind of interesting. That happened a couple of times, not just with the Shinkansen app, but we were trying to um, rebook a hotel. We kind of had like a mishap. It was definitely my fault. I accidentally booked a day short, so we were trying to extend our stay one place, and we actually ended up switching to another place. But trying to book the new place, my credit card would not would not go through, and then I think we ended up having to do like a debit card or something. I don't know. We figured it out, but um, something to think about if you're traveling. That might be once you're there, like you can use if you're in major cities. Credit card is actually I feel like much easier to or much more frequently accepted than it was when I went in college. But it is good to have cash on hand just because there's still a lot of places if you go off the beaten path that take cash. But um, yeah, authentication stuff is a good thing to know if you're going. Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't
like
know
I
if you
feel like
encountered that at all, Michelle, when you went last time, but I thought
I
that was not something I don't know what the yen maybe we went like a couple years ago, like how the
yeah,
yen was
it
right
was
then,
it
but
was around the same probably, but like yeah, I didn't have that issue, but I guess I wasn't also trying to I don't know, we stayed mostly in Tokyo, right? So we weren't
yeah.
really traveling very far or needing to do a lot of things. Um but yeah, I that's super interesting. I guess yeah, like it's one of those things that you have to kind of have in the back of your mind just in case you run into this issue. You're like, "Oh, I know what's causing this." I don't know. There was like a lot of things that I felt like did you run into like the customs forms like when you got to Japan and there was
Yeah,
like this online digital thing that you could have done ahead of time, but then if not, you
and
go to the
we
kiosk.
did, but it was very confusing.
Yes.
It was not it was not well, it didn't have good UX. It was not it I think, I don't think Alex is on, but like this made me think of Alex, our friend Alex Morgan, because she's so good with UX writing. But it was not written in a way that was clear in terms of like um, separating it out. Like if you're traveling with somebody, if you could do it together, if you had to do two separate ones, like there were just a lot of things that were not written clearly. And I don't know if that was, like a localization trying to like it just wasn't translated well or what, but it yeah, I don't know. It was confusing and it was a little stressful getting there to make sure we had everything.
Yeah.
Like,
I think like for us, like we didn't know about doing the thing ahead of time. Well, I might have gone to the website and was like, I don't really, this is too much information for my brain. So like, I'm just not gonna deal with it. And then we got to the airport, like we were like leaving through customs and I don't know, we waited in different lines and then we had to go to the kiosk. And like by then we were so jet lagged that like reading comprehension was, and I felt like there was a lot of information. They were trying to be really helpful, but like also didn't really know. And I think I just was like starting to just button mash and was like, I don't know, I'm just going to play dumb if they
it's
ask me questions.
yeah, it's a lot. And like there's also like there's duty free stuff you can fill out ahead of time too, along
Oh,
with
yeah.
customs, which was really interesting because we did it, and the idea was like I forget how much you spend, but if you spend like a certain amount, like you can get that like tax free, duty free. I guess it's tax free. Duty free is we went down this rabbit hole too, and we were there about the differences between tax free and duty free. But it was tax free thing that we were setting up, where if you like spend a certain amount, like you don't have to pay taxes on it unless you're like living in Japan. If you're just traveling and you spend like a certain amount, there's some tax free like stores and things you can go to. You could set up for the customs thing a QR code that would have your passport and information on that so you didn't have to carry your passport around with you. Almost no one took that.
Really?
The first day we were out and we tried to do that somewhere, like, I think we tried it a couple of different places and they were like, no, like, we need to see your passport. But then they had to give
Interesting.
me a QR code to scan after that. And I was just like, I don't
That's
know.
so
This is
yeah. I we were at the Pokemon store and like the woman was trying to explain to us about this like tax thing and like we were so confused and we were like we just want this Wooper plushie and some stickers. Like, I don't know what's going on. But yeah, we realized we
Oh,
weren't like buying that much.
would you like to know what I bought tax at a tax-free shop that ended up? They do this too at some places. So not every place that you go to where you buy tax-free. Some places will bag it in a special bag that you can't open, or you're
Oh,
not.
like
You can open it, but you're not supposed to open it until you leave the country because they don't want you to like.
put other
It's not
things in
supposed
it.
to be consumed there. They
Oh,
do this a lot with food. If you buy food in Japan, like packaged, like souvenirs, like food that souvenirs are like a really big thing in Japan. So like anytime you go to like a different site, like Tokyo Tower or Tokyo Skytree or like Fuji or like any of these kind of like big sort of tourist areas, it's common like courtesy like in Japan to bring back gifts for people. So like souvenirs are like a really big thing in Japan, especially food. But any food, like really, they would try and like seal it in a bag, so you like didn't. You were encouraged not to open it. Like the chances of somebody like really checking, I think are rare. It's like if your suitcase gets opened up, but if it does and you've opened it, then you might be asked to pay tax on it. Um, this happened to me though when I wasn't buying food, which was kind of wild. Mark and I love anime and video games, and so we were at I think it was Animate, looking at different stuff, and I bought postcards. They were Studio Ghibli postcards, and they were really cute. I love buying postcards when I travel and sending them to people. They put that in a bag.
oh
And
no.
I couldn't. I was like, no. I was like, can I just buy this separately? I didn't realize because I bought like that and I bought some souvenirs for people and things and like the total. And then I think Mark found some games or something. And so we didn't think about that. And I was like, well, trying to explain that we want to separate out so I could write the postcards was like, okay. And there was a line too. So I was just like, whatever. I'm just going to have these postcards and I'll just send them at home or something. They're
Yeah,
still
I'll
cute.
look at them on the plane.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, let's talk a little bit about like daily life because I feel like we're kind of like tapping into like a little bit of daily life, but I think the daily like UX of like Japan is also really interesting. Um, yeah, I guess like we talked a little bit about the Passmo card, how you can just use this as like a debit card. So like you can use it at like convenience stores or like even other stores. You can just use it, which is kind of wild because if you think about it, like any transportation card I've ever had is only just for that transportation. And it's you're lucky if you can use it across multiple like transportation tool. Like so in California, like I can use like the Clipper card across different like like the ferry and the subway and the bus,
Yeah.
but like I
It's
can't
it's
buy
great.
anything.
Yeah, like you can use it for so many different things. It's really like really convenient to just not have to have like cash or anything or like pulling that out, especially when you're trying to like transfer or like yeah,
I like it if
it's
you
great.
had like little kids, right? You can just give them Passmo cards versus them having actual debit cards to like your bank account or something, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like there was something about that too though, and I can't remember. One of my coworkers had actually been to Japan earlier in the year, was talking to me about, and she traveled with her 2 young children, which sounded like a lot. I mean, I think they had a great time, but that was like, I think getting tickets and like, I don't know, it wasn't, the smartphone thing wasn't as like, I mean, I don't know if she ended up getting them a card or not, if she just did paper tickets, but yeah, that made me think of that. It was a little bit, traveling with adults is a lot easier. I know we're talking about daily life, but I guess getting around too like that. I mean, children don't typically have smartphones, so yeah. The card is still nice though. You can it basically functions the same way. It's just, you know, an extra piece of plastic you gotta carry around. But
But it's yeah, it's like a transportation card that you can use for all the other things that aren't transportation.
yeah.
What else did you like
Yeah.
find really interesting about like daily life in Japan?
Um I think like One of the things that I don't remember being a thing when I was there before, and maybe it was and I just forgot, but like every time we went to a restaurant or somewhere and we had been shopping or we just kind of had extra stuff, we were carrying stuff around with us, they had bins for us to put things
Yeah.
in, which was really nice. They had like stored, and you could kind of like, and a place to store it like under the table. So it wouldn't get in the way. And I thought that was really smart. I hadn't, and it really wasn't just in like popular shopping areas, but just even kind of like, um, I don't know, like off little off the beaten path. Like places would still have them for you to put, you know, like even if it was just my purse, like a place for me to put that. It was really nice. But yeah, just not something I had thought about, but it before, but I think it's a really I think it's a really great idea. I wish more places here would do that.
Yeah, I didn't know why, and maybe this is something we can look up. But I feel like because even when you're on the train, like you put your bag above you, like there's like racks above you in the train,
Yeah.
and I feel like that's just not a thing in the U.S. Like you just put your
Yeah.
bag on the floor or like in your lap, and like you put your like, or if you're at like a restaurant or happy hour, you just put your bag on the floor, and like I don't know, the fact that you could put it in this like bin was really cool. I
Yeah, I feel like they're really, I mean, and they have to be like, Japan is so densely populated. Like, I think they're really, really smart about how to make the most of their space, which is not something, spatial reasoning is not my strong suit. So I like extra appreciate that. I feel like they think about that. And not
I always
to get
like,
up,
I don't know, like I always thought of like
yeah,
sanitary reasons, like it's kind of nice to put your bag in like a bin versus the gross floor.
that's true. But like, yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, that is really nice, but that's also, like, I don't know, we'll get into bathrooms and things, but the I don't know, that's it's interesting that there's that and, like, that's a lot more sanitary than just having it on the ground, but then there are other things where I'm just like, why is there not soap, like,
Oh yeah,
where
yeah,
the toilet is?
yeah. We'll get to that in a little because I
Yeah.
feel like there's a lot to unpack there. But
So,
I
yeah,
also
it was
yeah
like a whole topic around toilets,
um
and bathrooms, but, I did want to mention, I know we're talking about daily life, but just like in terms of kind of like packaging and like making the most of space. Something else that's interesting that's changed a lot in the last several years, I feel like, is there's the concept of shipping luggage now too. If you're kind of like traveling
oh
around
yeah.
Japan, so daily life too, like even people who like live there and travel within the country, there are options to ship your luggage, which sounds really like um, Mark was really nervous about doing that, and I was too, but I also really wanted to try it because it just I don't know. We had a friend that had done it, which and it was fine, but like if you're staying at hotels and stuff, it's really easy to do. The only thing is an Airbnb, they can't ship it to an Airbnb. It has to be like a hotel, but super cool idea, especially when like trains are packed and you think about again making the most of your space, like having an option to send it ahead of time is pretty cool.
Yeah, versus like having to like lug it around the trains
Which
and stuff like
which
that.
we did. Um, we shipped after that. After doing it once, we were like, "Oh god."
Yeah, yeah. Um yeah, especially for a 3-week trip. Like that's a lot of luggage, but
Yeah.
I really like that. And I also like they have like storage lockers for your stuff too, like at different train stations.
They
Um
even have now we didn't see it, but I've seen videos about this. They have fridges you can store
oh,
food in
really?
too at train stations, which is really neat. Yeah.
I feel like that can get dicey. Like what happens if you just people don't it's like 7 days pass and like your
I
leftovers.
don't know.
Um
It's a good question. I don't know.
that's cool. I actually liked the konbini, so like the Japanese convenience stores. They're called konbinis,
Yes.
and like there's 7-Eleven, which is in America, but like there are 7-Elevens are very different than the
It's not the
American
same.
versions.
Convenience stores
Yeah.
are not the same.
Um, and they had like
They're way
Family
better.
Mart. Yeah, it was like they're really good. They're really cheap. I think that's the other thing. It's like it's kind of expensive depending on when you go to Japan, but like when you get there, like the food's really cheap. Like we would just go to the konbini and like buy a couple meals or like you just and their konbinis are everywhere. Like you just like walk in, get like some snacks for lunch and like healthy stuff. So it's not just like in like the US, it's like the hot dog that's been like rolling on the thing, the rollers for like I don't know, 10 hours, right? Like
Oh, they
you're
have stuff like that too. It's like they got fried chicken and things like that, but they do have healthy options. Yeah.
yeah,
But
like
it's
it's
better. Like, I feel like even
yeah.
the unhealthy stuff is, like, way tastier than, like, what you would
Yeah.
find
It's
in
just
yeah.
yeah, it's like I don't know, like that was like one of our favorite things is like going to the conveni and getting a couple
I
things to go for like a
Yeah,
picnic.
I agree. We definitely got a lot of food from Konbini, especially, like, Tokyo's not big on breakfast, and Mark and I love breakfast food, so we would get, um, like, breakfast things from, Konbini. Which I think is typically what like if somebody's it seems like breakfast is just not a big thing in Tokyo in general, but if somebody does, it's like on the go like that. And kombini are like really easy to get in and out of and like grab what you need. They have like little pastries and egg things and yeah, it's I love them. They're great. We definitely went to several. I think Family Mart is our favorite. There's Family Mart, Lawson, and 7-Eleven.
Oh yeah,
And
Lawson.
they all kind of have different specialties, but I still like I I've been converted. I'm like a Family Mart fan for life now. I'll go to any of them, but if I have the choice, I'll do Family Mart.
Yeah, like they also have like other things like clothes. Like if you needed like, I don't know, an extra pair of socks, you can get some and they looked decent. I don't know. All the stuff in Japan looks really decent. Doesn't look like
Yeah,
cheap, you know? Like you're like, "Oh, this is yeah, it's like everything looks like really good quality." Um But yeah, I think that's the other thing is like there's so much in there and there's like in I guess like that's the other thing I noticed like daily life like it's like you mentioned like Tokyo is like very densely packed and like there's just like people and things and signs and everything is just very dense, but there's like this other like on the other side is like of Japanese culture is like this zen and simplicity and minimalism. And I thought that was really interesting about like the two very different vibes of like maximalist and minimalist. And like, I don't know, like I would look at like, I don't know, signs in Japan, like posted on like the subway station. And it's just like, I'm like, I don't even know where to begin to read the content on this poster because there's so much. And I'm like, this is just overwhelming, but I kind of like it all.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It is like kind of an interesting like dynamic. Um,
Yeah. I think like, and you can see that in websites too. Like there's a lot of content on Japanese websites. And the part of that is like, people want to be informed as much as possible about something. And so you put a lot of information on a web page. But like I think in more Western um like experiences, it's about like progressive disclosure. Like we're only going to tell you what you need to know right now.
yeah,
And go to the next screen and then you'll find out some more, right? Like um
yeah. It's definitely like subverts expectations there with that minimalism and kind of like simplicity. Like they like the two seem like diametrically opposed things, right? Like,
yeah.
but it kind of makes me think of like healthcare though. Like a lot of times too, like you're working on like designing for healthcare. Like I feel like a lot of feedback areas wanting to see so many things at the same time.
All the things.
Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah, it is really interesting to see. Um,
Um Yeah, I guess like the other thing that I thought was really interesting, kind of talking about diametrically opposed, is like Japan is very clean and there's no trash cans anywhere. Like you'll have trash cans at your home or if you're at a restaurant, but like there's no like trash cans that are just like on the street corner where anyone can throw away their trash. Like there's just none of that. So I don't know. It's like kind of weird because I feel like in the US, they put trash cans for you to put your stuff in, but people still just throw stuff on the ground. And you think that if there weren't any trash cans, that people would just throw stuff on the ground, but they don't. And I
Yeah,
was just like, I don't know. I found that wild.
it is. It is. It's kind of like what we were talking about before with like having this kind of like being intentional with things, like the fact that they have bins for you to put your bags in and like there's a place for things where it's like it's kind of the opposite approach where it's like we're not giving you a place for anything, so you have to take it with you.
Yeah.
Like there
That's it.
is
Yeah.
nowhere.
Yeah.
Um, but it's interesting because I was kind of like looking at like doing kind of another deep like Reddit dive on things where it's like it's kind of interesting that there's that, but then there's like we'll get into the bathrooms, but like some hygiene things where I'm like, wait, what? But I think it is like it from what it sounds like it's like a very it's like really taking pride in like taking care of like their cities and towns and like areas and like maintaining that like it's like presentation too. Like they want things to like to maintain and like keep things looking nice, and so that
I think it's, yeah,
you would
it's
think
like,
that people just dump it anywhere, but like I'm glad they don't because it is like it does make for a much better like I don't know walking
yeah.
experience to not have smell trash cans
Yeah. It's like,
every
it's for the
every
greater
block.
good, right? Like,
Yeah,
and I think that's like the other thing is like, I always wonder because in Japan, it's like anytime like you, like, because it's, you can walk through a densely, like, I don't know, dense neighborhood of like full of people just like trying to go around, like just walk and go about their day. You can bump into someone and they're like super apologetic about it, right? Like sumimasen. And um, that's also a good word to know if you visit Japan. Like, if anything, that's the only word you need to know is like, excuse me, sumimasen. But yeah, I think it's like one of those things. It's like politeness. Like you, it's almost because you're on an island. Like you don't have that space to go spread out, right? Like so, it's to
yeah,
kind of maintain like sanity. It's like being polite and being mindful of like where you are, where everyone else is. Um, you know. So I think like it kind of speaks to like the intention of your you being around, intention of where you're putting your stuff, where you're not throwing your trash, all of that, like kind of that mentality is like very, very fascinating. I think in America, because it's so gigantic, people just don't care.
yeah. I just think about like I mean New York is like New York City is like pretty dense and just like what a different experience it is. And don't get me wrong, like um, I think New York City is still a fun place to visit. I'm a big musical theater person, so um, it's definitely a place I enjoy going to when I can. But it is such a different experience. Like there's definitely smell. Like you'll smell some interesting things in New York that like you just it's just not. It's nice that you don't have to like deal with that, but at the same time, it's like you do have to kind of figure out how to um, minimize your trash when you're walking around, or like figuring out most convenience stores have places you could put them, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I think
I don't know.
it's like great that you don't have the smell, but at the same time too, it's like carrying around your trash is also not.
Yeah, I think so. We were somewhere. It was like a bunch of like food stalls, and like you can only throw away the trash from that food stall. Like if you bought food, they
Yeah,
wouldn't, like if you had like a water bottle, they'd be like, "No, you need to take that with you." Like they wouldn't accept it, which was kind of funny.
yeah. Well,
Um,
that's like vending machines too. Like if it's a drink vending machine, sometimes they will have places for you to dispose of. Like if it's a bottle or a can, like recycle that. But then there's not there's no trash can or anything there too. It's
yeah.
just for
I
that.
I felt like my friend carried this like empty bottle for like 3 hours because he couldn't find anywhere to like put it. Like there was no recycling, no trash can, like no nothing. And he was like stuck carrying it. And I was like, oh my God, wow.
Mark
Um, yeah,
Mark like fashioned I think it's something. It was like something you used for. Speaking of, this is a very like, I don't know. This is one of the things I love. Mark is very creative. But like grabbed like a. I think it was supposed to go on like a bike, but he like hooked it to his his bag that he was carrying to hold like a bottle and like strap it to
Oh,
his
yeah. Yeah.
chest
Nice.
to just hang on to. Like, and then he would get rid of it and get a new one, like get another bottle of water or something when he needed it. But yeah, it's very creative.
I noticed that Abenyi, hello Abenyi, thanks for joining.
Yeah,
Mentioned that Japanese fans at the World Cup always go viral for picking up after themselves, which I thought was really cool. Um, it's a good practice for everyone to do.
it
Um,
is. It is. Yeah, yeah. I think too. Like they'll if you leave things, I mean, you shouldn't try and like actively like forget something, but like it is a very different experience being there. I feel like the few times where I have like left an umbrella or like somebody has come and running after me with it,
oh
like
yeah, nice. Yeah.
yeah. Again, not that that happened that often, but I like the few times that did happen. Like I think the first time I was there, and then I can't remember. I feel like there was something like maybe a little bag or something. Like I had sat down for a second and then was getting ready to leave, and somebody was like, but it's just not something that happens here. I feel
No, they
like
probably take it and be like, look, I got this free
yeah, take
umbrella. Um,
yeah.
I feel like we have like 15 minutes left, and I feel like we should jump to the bathroom section because there's
Oh
like a lot
yeah,
to
God, this
unpack.
like
And I know you
flying
mentioned
by.
that we probably need like a
Yeah.
12-hour stream. So like this will be like, I don't know, the first introduction of like bathrooms in Japan, um, in the 15 minutes that we have. Um, yeah, I guess like I don't know. Where do you want to start, Mary Fran?
Where to begin? It's interesting because the first time that I went to Japan, I did stay in Tokyo for the most part, but I also traveled a lot more than this last time I went, and really went off the beaten path, and then encountered squatty potties.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
which is not something I feel like people talk about as much these days because most of the toilets I think that you run into in Japan are like really fancy, like nicer than what we have here. But like, I don't know. Squatty potties is like literally like you're squatting to go to the bathroom. Also, if if you're like sensitive about talking about showers and bathrooms, that is totally fine. But I guess we should preface that we're going to talk about like get into.
mild
Yeah,
trigger warning.
yeah. Sorry, I didn't do a good job of setting that setting that up before getting into it. But these days, I think most people talk about like bidet, like toilets in Japan that have like all these different like features on there where it's like um, again like we're getting into it rather than just having to wipe being able to like shoot water up to clean out like after you've gone to the bathroom. Some of them also have dryers. It's just like kind of wild. Like it's really neat like all of the different things that they can do, and not all of the toilets are like this, but like chances are if you're in a major city while you're there you'll encounter one like this. But it's I think if Mark could have one of those here, he would be thrilled.
We totally
Like,
have one. Like, yeah, it's
yeah.
like it's got all the buttons. Probably not as many buttons as they do in Japan, but like,
There are like attachments you can get, which are nice that
yeah,
basically
yeah.
do the same thing. You don't have to get like a full on toilet. And I mean, he definitely wants to get one of those at some point, but like, I
But
think if he could,
I
yeah,
think the thing is like every bathroom, like so like you go to the like in the US like a bathroom is like it's like very minimum, right? Like minimum everything. Like they just
yeah,
want the basics to work and then like they put like really cheap toilet paper and that's it. Like but like if you go to like a regular bathroom and each toilet has like all these fancy buttons and I don't know, they're like super high tech and you're just like, but this is just a regular like bathroom at the airport. Like it's not like I'm in some premier lounge. It's like every bathroom and um I thought that was also like really interesting because I feel like in America they'd be like, "Oh, that's too much money and we don't have the budget."
Yeah, it's kind of why. Yeah, they're a lot more frequent than you would think for being like seeming to be like very fancy. It is funny too because it kind of gets into like, and now that there's, you know, like Michelle mentioned before, there is a lot of English in Tokyo, especially. So less of an issue, but in some places where there's just icons and Japanese, and if you don't read Japanese and don't, I mean, I guess now if you have your smartphone, you have your smartphone to read what it is if you're not sure about the icon. But I can remember before smartphones, the first time I went, talking with somebody who used one at the airport when they got to Japan and didn't accidentally hit the bidet one. I was not
Oh,
expecting.
surprise.
Um, but yeah, it is interesting that it's like a very you be spoiled by like the nice toilets and places and kind of like what they can do. It's pretty neat.
Yeah, I think the one thing that I like, it's like interesting how like high tech that was, but then like I would also notice there's like no paper towels in the public bathrooms. Um,
Yeah. So this
and
is
yeah, like there wasn't dryers either in some of the places. Like you had to like, you just had wet hands.
and there are a lot more dryers now, I feel like, than there used to be. I feel like when I was there, it really like most, and you still see it, like a lot of people have hand towels, like that they bring with, like they carry with them. Hand towel, like especially like at, or like washcloths or whatever, that, but they're like, yeah, they might use it to wipe their face, but like a lot of people use it to dry their hands after like washing them and going to the bathroom. Like a lot of people, like I would see, wouldn't even use the dryers; they would just use that. Um,
Yeah, I think they're called tenugui, gui, tenugui. Um,
yeah,
yeah, like you, there's like they the stores sell them all. They're like really cute, but yeah, did not know that. So,
yeah,
but now it's like I actually carry my own. Like I,
yeah.
because I was like, oh, this is a great idea. Like why don't you do this? Because yeah,
Well, you definitely reduce the use of paper, which is nice. Yeah, you really can't find paper in most, and that's kind of it, it's cool to see like what they've done. I think to try, and I don't know if that was part of the reason, but I know there have been active like recycling and sustainability kind of efforts in Japan to try and reduce waste.
yeah, because I think they might incinerate their waste. So like
Yeah,
if that's
they do.
one less thing that
There's
they,
burnable trash. There is trash that's
yeah,
not burnable, but yeah,
yeah, like incinerate, then that's probably good. Um,
yeah.
yeah, like I know you had some photos that you wanted to share with like,
Yeah, so
yeah, I can pull them
I
up.
don't know if you wanna pull those up or you want me to pull them up.
I'll pull, yeah, I'll go ahead and pull
Okay.
them up.
Um, I did wanna share 2 examples, one of which is not necessarily a typical bathroom, but one that I encountered that I immediately texted Michelle about. Um, kind of makes me think of Don Norman and doors, but I guess it's really more about the door than it is the bathroom in this case. But I literally got to the front of it and was like, how do I close this door? Because I think the image of it is kind of deceiving. It folded in a weird way too. It doesn't just kind of like curve open and
I can
close, is
zoom
what
into the
it makes it seem
instructions.
like in here. It like opens part way but then kind of like folds a little bit too. I don't know, it was wild. But the fact that they have to have a diagram inside the bathroom showing you how to open and close it is a bad sign.
Yeah. Um, I feel like it's
This
like
was
this
in
was
an
kind of
office building we were
like
in.
oh okay. It was like an innovation, right? Like let's make use of the space, right? So this door, you're not having to like walk around the door or what have you. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I
But just
like it's
anytime somebody has to put a diagram like that up to show you, I'm like, it's not good.
yeah, when I was in grad school, like I said something about like, oh, if we do this, like what if we put like a tutorial and like my professor was like, if it was good UX, you wouldn't need a tutorial. And I'm like, "Oh, you're right." Like you're right, got it. Um but yeah,
It is very
it's
detailed. It's like all the way to like getting the lock like open and closed. Um, yeah, The other example I had was one that I didn't see frequently, but when I did see it, it was another one that I took a picture of. I had to send Michelle because I thought it was super cool. This is in Tokyo Tower, the bathrooms. There's something that's pretty common in most, I feel like public bathrooms now that you see, like in the West too, like having a soap dispenser and a water dispenser, right? Cool. We've seen that. The bottom part of this, where you kind of see the hands and the arrow, that's the dryer uh,
Oh.
below. So you could actually wash your hands and then dry them right there, which I thought was super cool. And that was the only place that I saw that, but I thought that was really, really neat.
Yeah, it's like an
Um,
all-in-one.
yeah. So you don't have to like wait over, not that a lot of people were using the dryer. Most people again had like a hand towel, but um here I think would be great because you do see dryers a lot. It'd be nice to not have to go over stand by the dryer and just like stick your hands right there.
Yeah. Part of me like wonders like, I don't know, like a
I don't
dryer
know
is
about moisture getting in there though, but
yeah, like electricity, right? Like it just seems like it could go like what if the sink floods? Like just like shorts out the bathroom and the sink. I don't know, and then your fancy toilets don't work. Um
yeah.
but yeah, it is definitely like a space saver. I'm going to try this like new like comment feature thing that we have because I've not tested it live before. Um but let's see if I can do this. Um
Oh,
So
there we
yeah, a
go.
venue says like
That's so
that
cool.
door design keeps people employed, which immediately I thought like I think maybe you meant like in the UX way of like someone has to make a diagram and instructions, but then part of me was thinking about like rescue like emergency people because people are getting
Yeah.
stuck. I don't know. Um
Yeah. For sure, because there are buttons in the bathroom, like if you have an emergency.
oh yeah, yeah.
Um,
Uh,
yeah, there were quite a few of those actually in bathrooms that I saw too. That and then also sanitation, which is kind of interesting too. They do have like a lot of the bathrooms now, like sanitizing spray and like a like a little like for
oh.
not using paper outside. They did have like little like paper in there for you to like wipe down the toilet seat, which was kind of interesting. But or I guess you
Yeah.
just used toilet paper. Maybe it was just toilet. It was just toilet paper. I lied. I think that was
I
what it
know
was.
like the emergency pull cords, like I saw that in Europe quite a bit.
Yeah.
Um I wonder if they work. I wasn't gonna test it, but I
Yeah.
feel like you only
Not a
see.
thing. You know, like, I wonder if this works.
Yeah, like I think you only like see that in hospitals, right? Like, but in the U.S., like it's not really a thing. Which I don't know. Like every time I go elsewhere, like it's good to travel, right? Like, but I think it's like I just realize how much the U.S. doesn't give a shit about anything,
Yeah.
for better or
True.
for worse. Um,
True.
but yeah, um,
Yeah. There is we probably don't have time to get in too much, but one thing I did wanna mention real quick that's kinda interesting too is a lot of times, bathrooms in Japan will have, like, a separate, sink and, like, hand washing area to, like, the toilet, which is mind-boggling to me. Like, I've stayed in hotels where we would have, like, the sink and the soap might be with the shower, but then the bathroom is, like, somewhere else. Like, the toilet is somewhere else. And sometimes it's like that in, like, conveni, like, I've been in before where it's like you have, like, the bathroom and there's not a sink. It's like this on the Shinkansen, actually, I think, too. There's not, like, a sink or anything in the bathroom. You have to go outside of the bathroom and there's, like, a sink and soap there. But when it's very far apart is where I just, like I'm like, "Why me?
yeah,
I
like
shouldn't have to, like, go to the bathroom and then
where am I
walk all
going?
the way over
Yeah,
here to go wash my
I
hands."
I feel like that's like in like like in bathrooms because I think my brother was stationed there and I think he had like a separate like shower area. Like he had a huge bathroom. Like it was like a
Yeah.
small house with a bathroom. So he was like a separate shower area and then a bathtub. Versus like in the US, it's like connected. It's like your bathtub and your shower is one thing.
Yeah, that's
Um,
common as well. And that's because, like, the expectation is it's like if you go to a bathhouse too or like an
yeah,
onsen, is that you clean yourself in the shower and then you, like, soak in the tub afterwards.
yeah. Like
Yeah.
My
which I
mom's
actually kind of
Japanese.
love.
Yeah, like she was like, yeah, like you have to like you want to be clean before you go into the bath. And I like as a kid I never understood. I was like, "Mom, you're crazy." Because it's like the bath is what cleans you. I don't know. But it's like in Cowboy Bebop where it's like a shower bath shower. I don't know if anyone knows that reference, but yeah. I don't know. It's really fascinating. But like yeah, I feel like you said we could talk about this for hours. I don't know if anyone has any questions before you like wrap up, but like
Yeah.
um yeah,
We'd always do a part 2 someday.
it's like I almost want to like go and like explore like bathrooms of the world. I don't know. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
Well, it's
yeah.
like, in Europe too, they don't have hair you don't have, like, the hair dryer, like, outlets in the bathroom, or at least in the UK, it was like that when I went.
Yeah, now I have to think about I'm like too lazy to dry my hair, so I just don't. Um, but yeah, I yeah, it would be really interesting to explore this. But I guess like yeah, shall we wrap up and then
Yeah,
okay, let's do it.
yeah. Well, we hope you had fun listening to this episode, about the UX in Japan. If you've visited Japan or you plan on visiting Japan, definitely reach out to us. Let us know your experiences. We'd love to hear all about it. You can find our show notes on our new website, which is uxinreallife.com, spelled out, not the dot. You know what I mean? We'll eventually be putting up all of our older episodes. Wow, can't talk. On there. So be on the lookout for that. And then if you haven't, we would love it if you would help us with the algorithm and rate our review our podcast. Be a big help. But
Yeah,
yeah,
let's play the algorithm game. Um,
yeah.
yeah, thanks everyone.